Money. Our sons are surrounded by ways to spend it, from social media to friends to everyday life. They're constantly being told what they need to buy, and it's shaping how they think about it. But here's the question. Are they learning how to manage it? In this episode, I'm sharing 5 practical ways to help your son understand the value of money, so he can learn to earn it, spend it wisely, save for the future, and use it as a tool. Because one day he won't be managing your money. He'll be managing his own. Welcome to Raising Boys with Purpose, a Christian parenting podcast for moms raising teens and young adult sons. I'm Brooke, a boy mom and parenting coach, and here we talk about raising sons, building character, and preparing our boys for adulthood with confidence and faith. Now, before we jump in, if you're looking for a community of moms who are learning how to raise boys into young men, I'd love to invite you to join us in the Raising Boys with Purpose Facebook group. You'll find the link in the description. It's a space for encouragement, real conversations, and support, because you're not meant to figure this out alone. So, everywhere they look, our sons are encouraged to buy something. Shoes, subscriptions, games, consoles, food, and entertainment. At school, conversations often revolve around what they did over the weekend or what they bought. As they get older, they want to spend more time with friends, and that costs money too. Celebrations get bigger, and so does the price tag. So in a world full of consumerism, how do we teach our boys good money habits? Now, we were never the family that gave allowances when our boys were younger. Our sons did chores because things needed to be done around the house, and it's a good way for them to learn how to take care of themselves. Also, I'm not a maid. So as they got older, they were given more responsibilities. They would sometimes receive money as gifts, or if it was a bigger project outside the norm, they could earn a little. But when they entered high school, they received an allowance for the first time. And this money wasn't just for fun spending. They were now responsible for some of their own expenses, because spending money feels different when it's your own. So how do we teach our sons the value of money and help them see it as a tool? Well, step 1, be the example. We're setting an example no matter what, so it should be a good one, right? In Proverbs 22:6, it says, "Train up a child in the way he should go. Even when he is old, he will not depart from it." So let's be intentional about what we show them. One practical way to do this is by sharing information about your finances as your son gets older. How do they know what life costs if we don't tell them? Now, this needs to be age appropriate, and there should be some conversations about privacy. But it's an important learning opportunity because we earn money. We pay bills, we give, we save, and we spend money on extras. Let them see how that works. I recommend using real numbers when it makes sense for your family. You know your son and your situation, but by high school, they're capable of understanding more. Start small when they're younger, and then they'll be prepared for bigger concepts later. You can talk about your housing and utilities, how much food costs, insurance, what you give to the church or charity, any savings, how are you paying for vacations, and even retirement. You don't have to go deep into everything. Just introducing these ideas gets them thinking. So, step 2, let them earn money. In Proverbs 12:11 it says, "Whoever works his land will have plenty of bread." Our sons aren't at a place where they need to fully support themselves. But there's something important about earning their own money. There's pride, ownership, and a sense of accomplishment. If they're under 16, help them find small ways to earn. Once they're 16, help them get a job. Before high school, our boys earned a little here and there, but most of their money came from us, and that shifted in high school. When they were 14, their allowance came with responsibility. They had to pay for their own school lunches. We still provided food at home so they could pack lunch, but if they chose to buy lunch, it came out of their money. And it was interesting. You could actually see the wheels turning. They had a choice: save money and pack lunch, or spend money for convenience. We didn't step in. We let them decide. Eventually, they found a middle ground. They bought lunch one day a week and packed the rest. And if they forgot their lunch, that was on them. At 16, when they got jobs, the allowance stopped. They were now responsible for lunches and some additional expenses. As they grew, they took on more. We still covered the bigger things, but they began managing more of their day-to-day costs. And were we thrilled with every purchase they made? No. But they were learning, and that was the goal. Now, step 3, teach budgeting. There are so many scriptures about stewardship, but a couple stand out. Proverbs 21:5 talks about diligence leading to abundance. Luke 14:28 reminds us to count the cost before we do things. One of the best ways to teach budgeting is to let them see yours. Now, I'm not going to pretend we're perfect at this, but even giving them a general picture helps. Some families choose not to share their income details, and that's okay. You have to decide what's right for your family. But for us, we wanted our boys to see how life actually works. We also made it clear that this information stays private. If that level of responsibility isn't there yet, you can still talk about expenses without sharing everything. Now, some simple ways to teach. Take them grocery shopping because food costs add up fast. Help them create a basic budget. Open a bank account. Take them to the bank with you because they will learn a lot just from them watching the process. And also, keep it simple and practical. Encourage them to save and encourage them to give. And as they earn more, this becomes a great opportunity to guide them in using it wisely. All right, step 4, give them some expenses. At some point, it's time to practice. We've talked about budgeting, but now we let them apply it. For us, they paid for lunches, later, gas money, and part of their insurance. But the goal isn't to take all their money. And it's not to overload them or push them into working excessive hours. The goal is learning. We want them to understand that life costs money while still having our support. So ask yourself, what are some reasonable expenses your son could begin to take on? All right, step 5, accountability. But you have to make sure you keep relationship in mind. Now, accountability matters, but not as strict rule following. It should be relationship-based and growth-focused. And this is where we really need to know our sons. There is no one-size-fits-all approach. We start small, we create a plan, and we walk it out with them. This might look like checking in on spending, talking through shortfalls, and adjusting their budget together. The goal is not shame. The goal is growth. And sometimes that means letting them fail. But we stay close. We guide, we support. It starts with a conversation so we can share the plan, set our expectations, and then we invite their input. And as you go, give them space to say, this feels like too much. Then adjust it, because accountability should build responsibility, not create unnecessary stress. So mama, don't feel like you have to do all of this perfectly. These are just ideas to help you through what might work for your son and your family. There isn't one right way to do this. There's simply choosing to start. Start small. Pay attention to how your son responds, and then adjust as needed. There will be hiccups, and that's part of the process. But when we stay involved and keep communication open, we're helping our sons build healthy money habits and giving them tools they'll carry into adulthood. If this episode of Raising Boys with Purpose encouraged you, please like this video and subscribe so you don't miss future episodes of this podcast. And if you're raising a teen or young adult son and want encouragement and practical guidance, come join us in the Raising Boys with Purpose Facebook community. The link is below. Thanks for being here today. Now grab your iced coffee, hug your son, and remember, you're raising him with purpose.